Morning, everybody. Morning, everybody. This is Jeff Esmond. This is the Hawaii State Commission on Fatherhood meeting on March 7th. The time is 10:03, and I'm sitting here at the DHS building, Office 2F, and I'm very happy to see so many people online today. I think this is the biggest meeting we've had in a very long time. Looking forward to hearing from everybody at some point in this meeting. This is legislative and awards season for the State Commission. So those are the two main focuses for today's meeting. I'm going to ask everybody to introduce themselves, and when you introduce yourself, state the name of anyone who is present in the room that is over the age of 18, and if they're under the age of 18 and they have business before a commission, then also introduce them. Myself, I am Jeff Esmond. I am the chair of the commission right now. And when I introduce the commissioners, I'm going to ask you to say your thought on what the Commission on Fatherhood is all about. There's no right or wrong answer to that, and maybe maybe it's a combination of all of the above. That is what the commission is about. And my approach is generally that the commission is about children. That's what we're all here for. And our angle with children is the role that fathers or any male caregivers can do to help out the children. I'm going to go in seniority order and start with Alan Sunio.
Good morning, everyone. Alan Sunil. I am in my home office by myself at this time. I am the original founder of the Coalition for Dads and a member now of the commission. I got involved a long time ago when there was a big issue of young kids, high school kids, getting girls pregnant and not knowing what to do or how to be a father. And so when several nonprofit organizations got together and said, we got to do something about this, that was my first involvement with it. And so my mission as part of the coalition and the Fatherhood Commission is to work with teens. Again, sticking to that, which is what brought me into it, and organizations that have father initiatives so that we can work together and bringing together that family unit, father, mother, and child. So that's always been my focus and goal for the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sunyo. And I'll just make a comment. My twins are in 9th grade, so they're in high school, and they come home and they talk about who's pregnant and who might be pregnant. So I know there's some work to be done on that. Commissioner Cardenas.
Hello, everybody. Alan Cardenas Jr., commissioner here on the Fatherhood Commission. Base of operations, leeward side of the island of Oahu. Like Alan, breaking the cycle of addiction, broken families, and so forth. Investing in the youths. My job is to hopefully put Tommy Johnson out of a job by making sure our youths don't go to prison and break the cycle of the men in there, or at least cut down the population so we don't have to build more prisons and so forth. But working forward with, love working with people like Tommy at the state level, the federal level, be able to have restorative justice programs, simple, practical, powerful fathers coming together to be able to create a safer, more caring community, starting with the West Side and working with great, amazing people like you guys, so we can transform our home Hawaii from Kauai to Ka'u, from Hanalei to Hilo, spread aloha, not violent. So my name is Alan Cardenas Jr., and I approve this message. Mahalo.
Thank you, Commissioner Cardenas. Moving on to Commissioner Alston.
Well, I can't top that. I love it. I'm Brian Alston, representing the great island of Kauai. Became aware of the commission when I was the administrator for the Kauai Fatherhood Council. And for a number of years, we put on the Kauai Men's Conference here locally on the island, gathering men from all walks of life to talk story about values, about their role, our role as fathers, mentorship, helping men mentor men, etc. I think my main reason and a fundamental reason for joining and wanting to join the commission was that we bolster the role of fatherhood, meaning we bring it out of the shadows, and we empower men to be fathers wherever they are, not just with their biological children, but across the board. And so happy to be a part of you and looking forward to our meeting. Aloha.
Thank you. That's great, Commissioner Alston. Moving on to Commissioner Oliphant.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Marty Oliphant. I come from Oahu as well. I'm at training this morning, so I broke away to come to the meeting. And it's all about children and families. I built my career on working with children and families in both prevention and intervention. I do like seeing fathers involved in their children's lives and being a pivotal member of the family. And I think the commission allows us to kind of focus in on that, but having carrying makua in a child's life is so important. So I appreciate the hearts behind this commission and also the different work that most nonprofits and government organizations work together to improve the lives of children every day. So mahalo.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Oliphant. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Our next commissioner, just about 2 weeks ago, went through his confirmation hearing at the Senate. He's our House appointee. And the House was able to push his through. I'm still working on some others through the Senate, but I do want to congratulate on him on that. He's just has left to go for them to bring the confirmation to the Senate floor. Commissioner Chao.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. It's always challenging to go last because everyone has already eloquently said everything I would say. But yeah, I'm on Oahu. My background is as a family physician. You can probably tell from my accent from England, but being in Hawaii now 8 to 10 years, it gets a bit blurry. And I have a 5-year-old son. So I would reiterate that. I think it's all about the kids. So, you know, very different perspective now having a kid and being a single father. And so for me, it's all about, how can we make things better, not just for, the next generation, but as a kind of legacy moving forwards in terms of, thinking of the future generation. So, strengthening families, improving child well-being, and, recognizing and addressing the challenges fathers face as well. So I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you, Commissioner Chao. I'm glad to have you. And I have some good news for you. You're not last, actually. Plus, you actually have some seniority because as of yesterday, we have a brand new commissioner. Our application from Maui does not have to go through the House or the Senate. And we received a surprise letter that he's been appointed on an interim basis pending his confirmation effective yesterday. So please, everybody, welcome our newest commissioner, Commissioner Augustine.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. First off, my name is Mark Augustine, representing Maui, Lanai, and Molokai. I'm originally from California, and I've been here for about 3 years. It feels like a lifetime, to be honest. I feel like this is where I was supposed to be born. So I'm gonna have a little chat with God when I get up there and see. But it was all for a reason. It was all for a purpose. My reason and how I see the Commission of Fathers, I was introduced to the Commissioner of Fathers by Kavika Matos, and he invited me and said it would be a great idea that I apply. I respect that man to the utmost because he welcomed me in with open arms, and he allowed me to sit at the table as a broken man, as a father, as a healed man. I have 4 children, married, happily married. I enjoy my marriage, and it wasn't always like that, you know. And I wasn't raised by a father, so I didn't know uh, what that even meant. You know, I had no idea. And thank God for mentors. Thank God for community. Thank God for educators. Thank God for all the people in my life. And so I want to give that back. And I want to be a great support to fathers on so many different levels. I was just chatting with a bunch of dads on a chat that we have that I'm building and creating continuously of some of the victories and some of the wins and some of the challenges that they go through. And I want to represent them, and I want to represent them well. I take this very seriously. At the same time, I love to have fun. I love to laugh. And I am in the room by myself. Nobody's in the room with me. My boys, we homeschool. I have 2 boys and 2 girls. And so there might be some chatter out, but they're not in the room here. And yeah, I am honored and grateful to be a part of this amazing team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Augustine, and it's a pleasure to have you here. And to all of your commissioners, remember that we can make this what you guys want it. As much as I can, I am a facilitator in that regard. So please, let's do it.
Jeff, may I say a word real quick?
Yes.
I want to say thank you, Jeff, for your leadership and for your great work and effort in bringing on the new commissioners, for bringing us together, and for the departments that are assisting you with that. But just want to acknowledge you and your leadership for doing that. So thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Commissioner Olson. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner Cardenas. So the next group of people that I'm going to ask to introduce themselves are non-voting members of the commission and representing many of the state offices. And I'm going to start with DHS. We actually have 3 people from DHS, and I'm going to ask Kristen to start off, and if she can introduce the other 2 as well.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I was trying to get my unmute button to work. I'm Kristen Takushi, and I was previously the ex officio for DHS. Now we have Jonathan Kimura. Jonathan, are you on? I believe you are.
Yes, I'm on. Hello, everybody.
Okay, so he is the new ex officio for the department. And then you folks also have our new 89-day hire for the admin assistant 2 position, which is helping the Fatherhood Commission and the LGBTQ plus commission as kind of like a secretary, helps with administration, which is Devin Gu, who is sitting right next to Jeff.
Thank you, Kristen. And John, if you want to please make an introduction.
Oh, John Kimura, from DHS ex officio designee. I am the executive specialist here. I've been on for 3 months now. And I'm happy to join the Commission of Father. Thank you.
Very happy to have you here and looking forward to working with you. And to all of you, I don't know if you realize the magnitude of the good news of what Kristen said is that we have someone helping us out right now. And Devin is off to an amazing start. I can't even express how much helping us to move forward and helping with some of the tasks. Moving on through our ex officio list. I will talk about them. There are progress, Commissioner Cardenas. In whatever part of the agenda, we're working on it. I promise you. Yeah. Tommy Johnson, would you please? You still on here? Introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, I'm Tommy Johnson, the Director of the Department of Corrections Rehabilitation. I've been here since just before the pandemic as a deputy director, and I also served as deputy director back in 2007 to 10. And this was all full set of hair before I started. Now, as you can see, I'm getting older and my hair's getting thinner and I'm getting a bit wider, but it's okay. I appreciate being on the commission, even though I'm a non-voting member. I appreciate the work the commission does. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to have you here. And we also have, I'll get through all of our guests, including our newest guest. We also have the Deputy Attorney General's Office Sunshine Law monitors, and we have two deputies joining us today. If you would please introduce yourself, starting with Erin.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Erin Yamashiro. I'm from the Department of Attorney General's office, and I'm one of your counsels for the Sunshine Law. Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you. Yeah.
Young. Sorry, I'm Deputy Attorney General Lily Young. I'm the other Sunshine Counsel. I wanted to say hi to all the commissioners, all the guests who have attended, and to welcome aboard Commissioner Augustine.
Thank you. It's great to have you here. And for those you don't know, they keep us in check. They monitor the Sunshine Law, and they correct me quite often. Actually, they're incredibly valuable. I communicate with them throughout the month between meetings quite frequently. Going through our guests, and I'm going to start with Kim Krell, who is representing Senator San Buenaventura's office.
I'm representing Parents Inc. I'm the executive director of Parents Inc. and we currently have a fatherhood program. And this is my first time attending, so I'm not sure what my role is.
Thanks. Sorry about that mix-up. Sorry about that, but super happy to have you here today. And yes, I did email you last week. And I'm also happy to talk to you outside of the meeting some more. Jay Begley. Jay Begley, we cannot hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm Juliet Begley. I'm representing Senator San Buenaventura's office.
Thank you very much for joining us. And we also have a surprise guest.
Wait, sorry, Jeff.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just before, because we're on the record and you're recording it now, the person sitting next to Kim Krell, if you can just identify yourself for the record. Because I think when she introduced herself, you didn't turn the recording on. Thank you.
And I'm Lori Dalton. I'm the CCSS supervisor for Parents Inc.
Good to have you here, and thanks for that, Lily. Our surprise guest, our past chair, the charismatic Kavika Matos.
Everybody, aloha. Good to see you. Awesome people. Awesome band. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought somehow I was muted. Yeah, good to be on with you guys. This is a surprise for me too, and I'm glad I'm here. I'm just gonna listen in and support you guys. But good to see everybody this morning. Miss you guys.
Kavika, I'm not sure if you were on when we introduced Mark, but if you were not on, he is now a commissioner as of yesterday. Thank you very much for making that referral.
Yeah, congratulations. And no one's in here with me. No one's with me this evening.
Thanks. And last but not least, I would like to invite Laurel Johnson to introduce herself, and we'll be hearing more from her later in the meeting.
Aloha, good morning, everybody. Laurel Johnston, I met Jeff through our work together on the Act 156 task force, which I think I'll address later, but I just wanted to thank Jeff and also all of you for serving. I worked for a former governor, and let me tell you, trying to get people to sit on boards and commissions is very, very challenging. So I really appreciate your service. So thanks for doing this.
Thank you very much. I'm going to switch over to start sharing the screen. I know there's been some chat. I have a hard time seeing the chat on my single monitor. Just a heads up. I am going to go ahead and read our mission statement. The mission of the Hawaii State Commission on Fatherhood is to promote healthy family relationships by emphasizing the importance of fathers in the lives of their children. The commission serves in an advisory capacity to state agencies and makes recommendations on programs, services, contracts, policies, and laws relating to children and families. Community shares their concerns. At this point, if there's any guests that would like to make any comments on an agenda, you'll also have an opportunity throughout the meeting to make comments. Okay, I just wanted to provide an update. I provided this last year. I just think it's a great event. It's the Keiki Rainbow Run, and it's actually the director of this event is a friend of mine, which is why I know about it. But the exciting thing about this event is that kids sign up through their elementary school. It's up through age 12, and they have a whole family day at Kaka'ako Park, and they give money back to every elementary school that the kids sign up for. I just think it's an amazing event. This is will be my third or fourth, and probably last because my son is 12. But please feel free to share that. I'll pull up the agenda for the link. You know if Amanda's coming. You know if Amanda is coming. Okay, so I wanted to start off talking about our awards because our award deadline is coming up. April 16th is our award deadline so that we can discuss awards, and we have 3 sets of awards. I had spoken with Amanda Stevens, the PR officer for DHS, and she's trying to help us to put out a press release because I wanted to get it out to a variety of organizations, the legislators, et cetera, et cetera. She's not here. Hopefully she'll join us because we really wanted to do something a little bit more formal and widespread. Ideally, each of the commissioners are out there looking for applicants for Father of the Year. I will say that to date, there's no applicants yet for Father of the Year. There's no applicants for Parent Friendly Business of the Year. For sponsorship awards, I've done what I do every year. I've reached out to past recipients, and so far, one of the past recipients has submitted an application. This is, I think it's important for us to try and get these applications out and people applying. I'm just curious if anyone had some feedback or comments on any of this section 3B.
Jeff, Brian here from Hawaii. I do have someone we'll be putting forth for Father of the Year for Hawaii. And also, thanks to your reminder, there is an organization on island that we're working with that may also be applying for support for us to do a men's program. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And to be clear, I have about 4 or 5 local nonprofits that have said they may be applying. It's just that only one has actually submitted an application. So over the past few weeks, I spent a lot of time talking with Aaron and Lily about the sponsorship awards and the process and the legality and dealing with DHS and they helped me really think about something, and I wanted to propose to update our application. It's not really changing the requirements. It's asking for more involvement with us. So I added this section here called acknowledgement of sponsorship. And it's basically, I don't think that we've been on top of making sure that they, acknowledge us, have a sign. We have a lot of banners that we can give them. Anyone that receives the sponsorship, I email them our logos, but I don't really know if they post it or not. So I'm asking I wanted to stress in the application of the display or digital logo, that we get a brochure out, that we have banners that we can provide to them to put them up, and pending our availability, I think it would be great if one or two of us even sit at any of these events. And if we get this opportunity, I will definitely be contacting all commissioners to see what we can put together. So I guess I'm curious if anyone had thoughts on that, or any discussion, or any of the above, or any update to that.
Hey Jeff, this is Alan Cardenas. I know some of you have met Mana. We have awarded him with monies to continue to mentor men coming out of prison and youths. And he has consistently flown the banners, the Hawaii Fatherhood Commission banners, at the events. And now as I'm listening to you, I should forward it to you so you can post it on the website. It's amazing. We got Mana with the police officers, community policing team on a website. So we got a number of pictures. And I think it doesn't do any good it being trapped in my computer. So I think what I should do, so sorry, I will forward that to you. And so that's that. And again, I'm working with other men, working with mentoring programs, much like Kavika's doing on Maui, on my side of the island. And I will be asking them to submit requests for the sponsorships as well. And then in order for them to get it, I'm being conditional. You have to take the banners and you have to fly it. And you have to post it all over social media and so forth. So I think if we can do that, we can be more consistent in branding and getting us out there, and our community partners and so forth. So yeah, so sorry I haven't sent you any of the pictures, Jeff, but I'm looking for it right now so I can send it to you and you can post it on our website. So
No, that's great, Commissioner Cardenas, and it's not just that. I never really processed it before, and I don't know that we discussed the extent that we should really be making sure our name is out there, or even us. And I'm gonna try and push the item C to actually have us at any events, and that would be more applicable to the Father's Day related events. But I think I'll stress. I meant to put it in the text to include pictures as well. So I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to move that we add to the sponsorship award application for 2025 a section called acknowledgement of sponsorship, reflecting what I have written on this draft, and adding item D, please provide us pictures as documentation of our sponsorship. That's my motion.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Alston. And of course, I struggle to get the whole process correct, but if there's any discussion, any additional discussion. So, put on this. Oh, great news. Now there's here. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna ask for a vote on this item, and I'm going to ask if the commissioners can raise their hand, whether it's yes or no. Voting to approve this motion. And I'm just gonna confirm what I see. I see Commissioners Esmond, Augustine, Alston, Oliphant, Sunio, Cardenas, Chauhan in favor. I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Amanda.
Aloha. I'm so sorry. I'm running late. I was coming from another meeting. Thank you.
That's okay. You're actually joining us at a great time. It's perfect time because we're on your section. I'm gonna share my screen. I don't need to share my screen. Thank you, Tom. So what I had said to the meeting and the commissioner was that you were offering to help us out to get a press release or other publicity for these awards. And the award deadline is actually in a month on April 16th. And we're looking forward to what you might have to throw out as suggestions or to offer to us. And the floor is all
Sure.
yours.
Thank you so much. I'm happy the timing worked out really well. Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see you all. I wanted to ask Chair if I could share my screen for a second.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I wanted to go over a possibility of looking at an editorial calendar so we can be proactive with what we might want to be sharing. And I just have a few examples. So an editorial calendar, and this is helpful for anyone in any organization or business, helps to have a structured approach to managing and executing communications. Positive testimonials and sharing important updates would be good to ensure DHS and COF maintains consistent, impactful presence in the community. This is also a good time to hear back from community on testimonials. I have some examples below so we can focus on sharing good news, wins in the legislation that you choose to support, or anything that has to do with your mission. So I know we're past March 1st, but these are just some examples of other commissions that I've seen that have put out things proactively. National Single Parent Day, Earth Day, teaching fathers to raise eco-conscious kids, just any kind of examples that you might want to use to have more community outreach. Obviously, the governor has stated that this is a trauma-informed state, and we always aim to be trauma-informed. Perhaps, if there was going to be some sort of trauma-informed wellness event, healing and support for fathers. I know y'all did such a good job a couple of years ago. Sam from KHON, he attended one of the fatherhood conferences, and he said it was so impactful to him that he asked a former chair to speak on KHON 2 News on or around Father's Day about the impacts of mental health and how fathers can help one another. So, just if you want to collectively look at what are some things that you want to focus in on for this coming fiscal year. The fiscal year ends in June 30th, but I'm fine with doing fiscal and calendar year just to be able to support the commission and the community. Thank you. And yes, to the press release, I just would like to get the who, what, when, where, and why, and to see if you're okay with us planning press releases within and even social media by utilizing an editorial calendar. I think it'll help everyone to be organized and for us to have transparency. Mahalo.
That calendar is amazing. I have a question for you. I don't actually know how press releases work or who they go to or who will pick it up. I know that personally I have some targets I'd like to get some of these announcements to. So I don't know if we send it to a media or we also send it to them.
I send it out to media as the PIO. I send all press releases out to the media from all of the commissions that are overseen by DHS. I have a really comprehensive media list. What I typically do is I work with the commission. I get the who, what, when, where, why, and how. You all provide the meat of it. I bring it back to you all for your approval. And I send it to the governor's office because press releases go out to Gov's office. And then I send it out to about 178 active media distribution. If it's an event on Maui, I would probably make sure to get more Maui folks in there. But everything that we send out is statewide, and I think the work that you all do is statewide and really, really important. And I'm so sorry, Marty, I didn't mean to undercut you. I know you raised your hand.
No, I was fixing my sun visor. Sorry. Thanks for noticing though, Amanda. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited that you are able to do the press releases. I think it will help us in a lot of ways to get the word out and to gather more nominations for what we're trying to do for the awards. And I'm also excited to know that we can do a calendaring kind of thing so that we can be on top of that, be more organized. So thank you for your influence, and thank you, Jeff, for rallying Amanda to this meeting too. Appreciate it.
So Amanda, a couple questions for you, or comments. We don't really have social media, and I don't know if we can get more active social media going until we have a more permanent rather than an 89 day. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but we just have the DHS homepage right now, for stuff like that. And the other thing is, does that go out to all the legislators? Because I know they send their weekly emails to their constituents.
When we send a press release, it goes out to all the legislators, yes.
Okay.
And
Well,
even if you don't have it's probably best to wait until you have a really strong vetting before you go again to have social media actively, because we really want to make sure that someone can monitor it. There's so many people out there hurting that, and you don't want to have social media out there and somebody asking for help and it's just left unanswered. So I think for many, many reasons, don't do social media until you are ready to assign people to monitor it every day, to have policies and procedures. Now, we do have policies and procedures for social media. And I think I've distributed that earlier on, maybe a couple of years ago. It has been updated since. But as I said, sometimes whether that's youth or young adults or kupuna and asking for help, and they're just putting themselves at more risk for predatory activity. We do have a lot of people doing scams, so I really wouldn't want it to be identified. Now, on the good news, we can share important posts with the governor's office, and they can push out some social media. If I can work with your team and just do some sort of Canva like graphics. I would say if you're going to continue on with your logo, let's get your logo out there and use your logo. That will also help with avoiding identity theft, so someone else isn't pretending to be you. So I'd say there's good ways that we can put the information out.
a couple follow-up questions on all that. And now when you talk about social media, I assume it means multiple platforms. Is that correct?
That is correct. And there's so many, because it's part of a government entity, we can't just arbitrarily delete comments. There's, because of transparency, there's some comments that we have to leave. We also can't leave like swear words or threatening words or divisive comments, but there's so much to study before we do. So if you look at social media as interactive, we have to look at it like that. Now, it's not like you're just posting an event, which is a one-way street, right? It's a two-way conversation. So that's kind of like where the concern is.
But frankly, it sounds very overwhelming.
It can be okay. I think if we can talk about having just an event page starting, slowly, just getting back into it. I think that's okay, but understanding that someone's going to have to vet it and be able to answer the questions and things like that. But for now, if there's a press release, we usually share it with the governor's office too. And if it's something on the macro level, then they might share it out. But we will certainly put it on our website with our newsroom on our on our press release page. And you can also put that on your page when you do press releases. But I would highly see if we can, plan something around Father's Day. I know the news stations are looking for positive messages. They're looking for experts in the field of fatherhood.
Thank you. And that's really part of the next question that I have. Because in the past, and Kim, I think you might know this from Lisa, Commissioner Cardenas used to work very hard with Parents Inc. on that conference that was mentioned in June, and we would award some of actually all of the Father of the Year awards at that event, but it's not currently happening right now. So Amanda, we don't actually have a platform or an event to do some awards, and I'm not a planner myself, but I visualize something where we can have an event, we can do at least a couple of the Father of the Year. If we have a parent-friendly business, maybe include that, and as well as, acknowledge some of the sponsorship awards, but I don't even know where to start to come up with a Father's Day timed event.
I know one of the questions that the media had in the past of if there is a Father's Day award, what are your criteria? Just things like that. So, even if it's informational, even if it's about mental health, even if it's about trauma-informed care, it doesn't have to be a very complicated thing. I mean, you listen to your community. What are the community concerns as it relates to being a father? And what are some of the concerns around that? We do have the Office of Wellness and Resilience already in place. They're very trauma informed. It might be something you might want to consider. But even if it's not an event, but we have some talking points, top 10 things that fathers should know. Having messaging around Father's Day, as you are experts in that field, you have been supporting the community. Maybe even having an educational statement in your press release, like, hey, attention all fathers, whatever it is, I want to help support, whether it's an event or if it's just some talking points for the news, some videos of encouragement. There's so many different things that you all could do.
Thank you. I would love it if we can have some kind of event like the week before, the weekend before. I'm gonna try to brainstorm a little bit on that and get something on our next agenda to.
Well, let me also put this out there. Father's Day could be the time where you announce the event that's coming up. So you don't have to be so stressed out because, I feel like March came and like what happened? It came so quickly, right? So June is going to be here so quickly. So if you aim to do an announcement in June for an event that will happen sometime in July or August, I think that's relevant as well. So just think about June as a vehicle for communicating, what your mission is. Remind people, why are you here? What is it that you do? And that, hey, and we also have an event coming up in August, so, things to think about. But I wouldn't do an event in June right now. I think it's a little too soon.
Okay.
Yeah. That's just my thoughts.
I mean, it's possible that it may take a whole nother year before we get there, but we got to start somehow to get something working.
Mark, Commissioner Mark here, Augustine. I like that idea. If I can just say that, that gives us some time to talk about things that we want to do, and things that we want to see happen. Even on the micro level of just individually, right? Of our own reach of influence, right? I know we are all on a men's text message thread, right? I know we all are on. I have one, and just sending those messages out to different dads. I called a father yesterday. His father had passed away, and it's like just those encouraging things. And so, like, I like that idea of having it a launch. Hey, we're launching this on Father's Day. Here's a Father's Day message, or whatever it may be, and be on the lookout. And having that banner and having that flag being being there and taking those photos, like Alan said, you know. And then I have a second question. I don't know who this is going to be directed to, but is there an actual banner that we have? Like, is there an actual like flag that we can that each commissioner can have, and we can kind of go around and like, hey, let's get this group of dads like at our church or our little functions, and we have this banner, and then we take a group picture, and then we can post those photos on social media, or even YouTube, you know, whatever the case may be. Yeah,
Yeah,
love that.
that's great picture. And we have banners that look like that. They're not the
Okay.
most exciting banner, and I would bet you that Kavika has some banners he can now give to you, and he'll be happy
Okay.
to them. And if he doesn't, I have some banners that will somehow get over to you. A few years ago, I pushed to spend some of the budget to make banners. But
Okay.
in the future, I'm hoping for more interesting banners that aren't just black and white. But one other comment to what you just said is the extent that we can actually go to an event that we haven't really discussed and display our banners.
Okay.
So I don't know that we necessarily can just go out. If there's a sign waving, which totally makes sense, you know, keep our roads safe, and it makes sense for us. But if we haven't discussed it, I don't know that we can bring the banners.
Okay. Mala.
I also wanted to give a shout out to Kavika if he's on. When he was on KHON2, it was a time of during COVID, I believe, and there was a lot of isolation and some depression that people were facing. And his message about hope and taking care of one another and the pressures that families, especially fathers, feel financially, emotionally, spiritually, it was really, really compelling. And I think I keep wanting to say, I think his name is Sam Spangler, reached out. So if you all wanted to do mini messages, or, you know, I can record you all and or have something, that might be something for the future too. But I want you to keep in mind being having integrity of what this mission is. Always start with what is the mission of the Commission of Fatherhood. If you don't know where to start, that's where to start. And you know, Jeff always has that in mind. Alan, you've always had it in mind all the years I've known you. Kavika did such a fantastic job on TV. It was, we really had to frame the messaging because Sam said, what do you have to share? And then we had a quick conversation, and I said, Kavika, what is the most pressing thing that you're seeing right now? And that's where it was about mental health and pressures that fathers feel, especially during those tough economic times.
I just want to stress that you don't have to be chair to go on TV. I believe every single other commissioner on here will have a much stronger presence than me on TV. So keep that in mind. You can all do it, every single one, and maybe even we can borrow Kavika again as our voice. I don't know if that's allowed, but he was great on TV. I can't stress that enough.
Jeff, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to jump in. And I was just about to chat. May I? So let me
Yes,
verbally
sir.
ask, may I? Amanda, thanks for the shout out. You have been trying to support us ever since I met you from years ago. So I wanted to mahalo you. That little piece was a little bit terrifying. So it was great to have Amanda coach me. And I guess it turned out okay. But yeah, she can help coach any one of you. And you got such talented people and good looking guys on here. So that's one. Two is, yes, Mark, I do have the banner. And then I'm not sure if, Jeff, you're going to share about the annual event. We're at the 18th year already, annual celebration of events. So I'm here to answer any questions. But really, I wanted to just jump on because I normally work Fridays. I stayed home from work today and just realized, oh, the meeting is on today. So again, thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Jeff. And to the rest of the guys, thanks.
So Amanda, thank you very much. I don't know if you need to go, but that's great. And I will definitely be in touch to make sure to get you the information to get this press release going.
And you know, we can share the love. It can be one does KHON, one does KITV, one does Hawaii News Now. Somebody does an interview for the newspaper. Someone goes on Hawaii Public Radio. so we can spread the love, but just always remember, bring it down back to the mission. And I think Father's Day is a really good time to let people know that you're here. You have something to say. This is your mission. And if there is an event, point to it. If not, share knowledge. Thank you. Do you have any other questions before I sign off? Thank you, everyone.
Kalika, just so you know that I do have it on an agenda to talk about the event. We may not get to it for another 20 minutes or so, so hopefully you're not in a rush to leave. Share my screen again.
So may I say one more thing too? And I think maybe the commissioners on here do not know that Alan Sunil, he and the former, I don't know if it was just Alan as a commissioner, and there were two other guys, but there is a past recording, a lengthy recording where they sat in a studio, and I was absolutely inspired, and inspired me in the beginning years, some 6, 7 years ago when I started on the commission and watched that piece. So if you haven't seen it, I think it's a very, very valuable piece. And Alan Sunil at this point is super humble, to all this work, but he's been trucking this, he's been pushing for this for years. So I wanted to recognize Alan too.
Kalika, if there's any way you have a link or you know how to find it, please send it to me. We're going to move on in our agenda. I'm going to go to legislative update, and I have a number of things to say here. I'm going to start with legislative opening day. Commissioner Alston flew over from Kauai, and I'm going to ask him in a moment to give his version of the update. But we walked around on opening day, and there was a bit more of a struggle this year. They seemed to get out of their opening session late. They had much longer lines. Maybe they had better food. I don't know. We didn't get too much of it, and it was harder to connect. But we did manage to talk to a number of people. I didn't take as many pictures this year. We dressed alike almost. Same shirt, same hat. Nice to have that brand going out. Commissioner Alston, if you would like to give your update.
Jeff, we were twins. We were twins that day. We had a great time. First of all, it's such a wonderful opportunity to meet our legislators, to meet their staff, right? To talk story about fatherhood and our mission, the council, the commission, what we're trying to do, what they're trying to do. And also to gauge and see alignment. And once again, like last year, this year as well, we had so many of our legislators to say they want to work with us. They want to be at the table with us around certain legislation. Their doors are open to us. So I really do think that we have an open door, many open doors. And it was just an honor, Jeff, to join you and to meet our leaders. Thank you.
And Commissioner Alston, will we have a lead in with the new speaker?
Yeah, she's from Kauai.
Keep that in mind. I don't know if I have it here. I put together a handout. Thought I had it uploaded. Put a lot of time to give a handout to give the commissioner. Sorry, I wanted to show it to you, but okay.
Nadine Nakamura from Kauai.
So I put together a handout with us, the commissioner names, our duties, and I handed it out, and I felt like we made a lot of connections. One of my weaknesses is the follow-up, and I haven't had a chance really to follow up, but we had some interesting conversations. We met coalition against domestic violence, just brought a few things. To remind me, we brought a group and childhood trafficking. We talked to the Office of Wellness and Resilience. We spoke with In Peace, which is Native Pacific Education, Institute for Native Pacific Education and Culture. So I thought we had a good time making connections, but again, following up is a challenge with time. Okay, so as you know, as I've said many, many times, I think it's really important for us to have some kind of role participating in the legislative session. And the main role, as far as I know, is to submit testimony and to follow bills. There was a lot of interesting bills in this session that I think are really applicable for the Commission on Fatherhood and more than I can handle at this time. But bills related to education, schools, parent, housing, which is a big deal for helping out children. There's a lot out there, and maybe at our next meeting, depending on the status of the session, we can visit some other bills. There's one bill in particular that I wanted to talk about and would like to submit testimony. I emailed the commissioners earlier this week with a draft testimony, and this is something that has been very important to me. And this is what I invited Laurel to present some talk about. But I'm gonna ramble on a little bit to try and get out some thoughts to give you the background on what this is and what the testimony is trying to say. So I appreciate your patience on this. About 2 years ago, the legislature created Act 156 task force to review the Uniform Parentage Act, and the Uniform Parentage Act has to do with birth certificates. And Laurel, feel free to interrupt me at all before I get to you if you need to clarify something I'm saying here. But basically, the birth certificate law, and this is important for parents and fathers, it goes back to the early 70s, and it's an attempt to update it with a focus on a few things. There is a reality that parents are coming in different forms, or families are in different forms, and it's acknowledging that. It's acknowledging IVF and surrogacy, and one of the focuses also has to do, as I mentioned before, with child custody and who the legal father is, whether or not biologically connected or not. So it's a huge, huge bill to update the parentage law. When they made the task force, they added a member to be from the Commission on Fatherhood, as well as the Commission on the Status of Women, and a variety of other organizations. Thank you, Frida. And so I sat on the task force, and I quickly got assigned to one of 3 permitted interaction groups, or PIGs, to discuss one of the different topics, which was birth heritage. And it's a very personal topic for me because of the story of my children, which some of you know and some of you don't necessarily know, but trying to formulate my thoughts here. One thing that this commission has really helped strengthen is the role that you don't have to be a biological parent to be a parent to your children. And the male caregiver could be far bigger role in any form to your children. And sometimes there's also genetic identity, knowing who the biological father and mother is, even if they're not actually your parents. So that's what birth heritage is kind of about, is identifying who biologically is the parent. Intended parent, that's a formal expression for someone who more or less is going through infertility and is trying to become a parent, mostly through IVF or other ARTs, assisted reproduction techniques or technologies, to become a parent. And it's IVF, whether it's between the husband and wife themselves or another type of couple. And there's surrogacy, and my three children were all born by surrogacy, and they were all born with an egg donor. And on top of that, they're all born with an anonymous egg donor. So the main topic of our birth heritage pig turned out to be whether or not such an anonymous donor should be identifiable when the donor conceived child turns age 18. And I'm going to repeat that because it's the basis of this discussion. When intended parents turn to using donor, either sperm or eggs, and the term for that is donor gametes, and they make their choice of the donor, is that donor anonymous, or is it someone that could be identifiable when the child turns 18? And what that means is that the child who's now an adult can contact the clinic or the agency that helped with providing the donor to find out who that is. The donor knows ahead of time that that's always possible, and the child who's now an adult does not have to contact them. It's merely to get information. And it's not just about identity, it's equally important. It's about health and medical issues, because their issues can happen after birth. And there's this big assumption out there that intended parents know the difference between choosing a donor, an anonymous donor, or an identifiable donor, but that's not true. As I know, having gone through the process, I assumed that anonymous donors was the status quo. That's what you do, and I never questioned it, and it was never ever explained to me the implications of choosing an anonymous donor. So the bills that came out, SB 1231 and HB 1193, they take the draft of there's a National Uniform Law Commission that has a draft of how to update for each state the full text of the parentage law across the board for birth certificates. And they have a chapter or a section in there that basically allows a state to insert text that anonymous donors will no longer be allowed, because of the impact that this has on these donor conceived children. The current bill, SB 1231, does not include that section, and it included an older version which allowed the state to codify to allow anonymous donors. At the hearing for SB 1231, we were successful in getting that removed, so we had a partial win. But at the current time, they are not requiring all donors to be identifiable. So they're letting the status quo be, which there's no regulation right now on donors or surrogates and all of that. And the status quo is that there can be anonymous donors if that's what someone selects. And again, a lot of the intended parents don't understand it because it's such an emotional, difficult process to go through. I think I said what I wanted to say, and at this time, I would like Laurel to introduce herself, why she was a part of the task force, and some of her own thoughts or corrections to what I stated. Laurel.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. That was a pretty good summary, actually, for something that's quite complex. Having been a legislative drafter about half my career, it is not easy to draft these kind of bills. You know, I've been here in 1985. I married a local guy. I feel like I'm part of this place. I am not of this place, but I certainly feel part of this community. I was adopted right out of the hospital, 3 days old, in something called the closed adoption system, which at the time we were given a amended birth certificate with our adoptive parents' names and no other information. And this is really a story about my dad that I want to tell today. My dad was 45 when I was born. And my dad had what I consider some trauma as a child. He lost his only sibling, a sister, in the 1918 pandemic. His parents then divorced, and then his father died. And he was left to be raised by his single mother, who didn't have any occupation. She was a part-time hairdresser. So he was sent to a school, high school, so he could at least graduate an agricultural high school where he had to work his way through high school. And then the Depression hit. So he joined the Marines. My dad was a very proud Marine and worked as one and retired actually before I was born. So my father was by no means a wussy, and he was certainly a survivor. So at age 20, when I said, you know, Dad, I'd really like to do my genealogy. And he said, well, your mom's doing it. And I said, yeah, but I want to do mine. Because I knew I was adopted from a very young age. We didn't hide it. It was not an issue, really. And he said, well, you know, then maybe we should do something about that. Because I think as someone who had lost family and was so tied to the one he had formed, he thought, well, you know, maybe we should try to do this. Well, let me tell you, you know, this was in the late 70s. There was no one really advocating for opening records. And so we went around and around with the bureaucracy in Florida at the time. And finally, they did send us some information. Now, it was not identifying information, but it was 5 pages of information about what my birth parents, what their family background was, whether they had any aspirations to be anyone or, you know, do anything. By the way, my birth mother was 33 when I was born. Okay, she was not a young unwed mother, and I'll tell you a little bit more later about that. But so my father, when he received the information, he said, well, wait a minute, why didn't we have this like from, you know, when it was collected, when you were born? And I said, well, you know, I don't know. So he wrote another letter and said, well, how come you're just now sending us this information? So see, my dad got it in ways that maybe a lot of people didn't at the time, but I think it's because of who he was. So fast forward, I finally did find my birth mother. I was 33, and that was through some work that I've been doing here in Hawaii. I was part of a group called the Adoption Circle of Hawaii. It includes, and it still does include, adoptive parents, adoptees, and birth parents. And we advocated to try to open adoption records here in Hawaii. We made it part way. We didn't get all the way, but we made it part way in the 90s. And then in 2016, we were able to get access for the people that were parties to the adoption to these records. And I can tell you, as someone who's worked with people here, it has been immensely helpful, particularly to adoptees. And again, this is not something, these are not public records. These are the private records of that family. And you only get access to them when you ask. It's not like they're available to anybody else. So these are not public records. They never have been. So when I heard about what was happening with uniform law and parentage, and this has been going on since 2018, I knew some of the people involved, and I knew some of the uniform law commissioners, and I said, well, now wait a minute. Some of these things you're doing here is you're repeating what we considered a social experiment of you know, genetic anonymity is what I call it, with closed adoption records. And you're saying that it's okay for a person to be born and then their birth certificate's going to be amended and it's not going to have anything about their genetic history on it, nothing about their donor. It's just going to either be blank or, you know, you're going to put people's names on there that are not genetic parents. So we've been working on this for a number of years. I met Jeff, like he said, to the Act 156 task force. And I think both his personal experience and his commitment to fatherhood or what helped he and I kind of align on this and say, well, yeah, now wait a minute. Shouldn't people that are born into a genetic anonymity through no fault of their own maybe have access to some information as adults? And also, like Jeff mentioned, there's too much research now about genetic links to disease states and possible cures for us to say that that is not important information for someone to have at some point. We can't say that in good conscience anymore. So I have been working with the Uniform Law Commissioners that I know, as well as on this task force now. Jeff and I were aligned on this to try to convince the task force that at some point, and certainly at age 18, that's what adulthood is in Hawaii, if someone requests the information, they should be given it. Again, this is not a public record. We're talking about private records in a fertility clinic or a gamete bank. Well, Jeff and I, we tried really hard, and I think we gave it, all we could. I think we had some really strong arguments. And by the way, we were arguing with 8 attorneys, and we didn't have any legal counsel, so I don't know if that was fair. But anyway, we tried really hard, and I think even the task force members agreed that really something should be done, but for reasons that I think we still don't really quite understand, they were not able to get there to adopt the 2024 language that Uniform Law Commission had recommended. So I think Jeff just wanted me to be here to explain, why I still think it's important. We have one more chance with the House. I have to tell you, though, the donor-conceived community constituents that we've spoken to, and we've spoken to a few of them, some mostly nationally, but some locally, there's pieces of this bill that they really want and need. They want some kind of regulation of ART and surrogacy because it is not regulated here. And there have been some issues in other places with this. And so they would like to see that. They also would like to see some expedited parentage where it doesn't take so long for a non-genetic parent to be named on a birth certificate. So they're sort of willing to accept this Senate draft as it is, but I think there are those of us, certainly Jeff and I, who sat on the task force, that would like to still say we support providing access to information to donor-conceived persons at age 18. So I think I'll stop there, Jeff, and see if anyone has questions.
I have a couple of questions. First question is, currently, is there a way for a donor child that reaches adulthood to find out that genetic or identifying information on the donor parent?
The only way they can do that, and this is happening, and I should have mentioned this actually, thank you, Brian, for bringing this up. With adoption records too, this has been the case. Direct-to-consumer DNA tests, people are finding each other all over the place. There, in fact, is something called the Donor Sibling Registry. It's quite large. It operates out of Colorado. A woman and her donor child actually started this. Yes, you can find out. I think the issue is whether the person, I don't know if I actually have done the DNA test. And so let me give you this example. I'll use myself. I don't have my original birth certificate from Florida because Florida still has closed records, despite the fact that I'm Medicare eligible. But they don't have to necessarily respond to you, in these DNA tests. And the person who came out as my possible birth father is not the person my birth mother was married to. So, and he's dead. And I found supposedly a half sibling, but to get medical information that way is kind of dicey. Does that help you answer your question?
It does. And then I have one other question.
Mhm.
Not sure if I heard the language clearly, but currently
Mm-hmm.
with the language being proposed, would that then limit or deny the donation, as it were, from someone who wanted to be anonymous? Would it say to that person, hey, we can't take it because you want to be anonymous?
Mm-hmm. I am being very careful here because I'm not an attorney. And we did have discussions about this. Part of the problem in Hawaii is we really don't know what the fertility clinics and the gamete banks are doing here. They say they are mostly bringing in gametes from California. Now, in California, there are banks and clinics that don't use anonymous donors, and there are some that do. The provisions that we would support would de facto probably say, no, you can't use anonymous donors anymore because the person will be allowed to know the identity at 18. So it's kind of I'm just trying to be really careful how I'm explaining this because it could probably be argued a couple ways.
My belief, Brian, having gone through a donor selection process, when you're looking at a variety of donors, you're looking at a lot of different characteristics. And so whether or not they choose to be anonymous or identifiable is a characteristic. And I don't personally believe it's a characteristic that should be overlooked by the person selecting. But as I said, the intended parents don't really understand that. And one other thing which I had meant to say earlier, one of the reasons we didn't question the anonymity was this huge sense of insecurity and not understanding what it meant to be a parent and being afraid that someone else would be involved. I'm almost 15 years as a parent, and I'm not afraid of that because nothing will ever change my role in their life as their parent, whether or not I'm actually related genetically to my children. And that's something that was I would have never understood it back then, but I can say that it's not something to worry about. And also relying on existing DNA search technologies is not, in my opinion, a sufficient excuse to continue to allow for donor anonymity. It's like Laurel said, it's still too imperfect out there. And one more thing is it's also unfair because it does exist. It's unfair to an anonymous donor to let them think they will be anonymous when they may not be, and they may do whatever they can to stay off of DNA testing, but they can't control their family members. So it's actually unfair to them to let them think that. I would love for questions from any other commissioners. This is for me, this has been the most involved and interesting experience on the Christian fatherhood. Marty.
I was just thinking that there's probably unintended consequences too, right? Like for those who have the best intentions, donating anonymously or what have you, and then fearing that the child will come back and there'll be a kuleana to that person or responsibility that they financial or what have you that then might be asked of them, the anonymous donor. And I wonder if that came up in any kind of testimony. But I think the value of what you're trying to do in terms of medical questions or what have you, or even wanting to form a relationship with your birth family or birth parent, there is that sense of belonging that people have, and I think that's where that could also be why people are wanting to search out. And this extension of what your family could be or Hana could be might be another thing that I would see why people would want to know and need to know. And so, anyway, it's very interesting. So I appreciate your story, your narrative, and your story of Laura, what you're sharing about what happened for you, because it brings an element of well, Lelo, like why is it important to people to have this, right? And I think that's what's so important to hear those stories, and also appreciate Jeff as what you shared about your reality is that no matter what, you're still in that relationship with your children, and I love that. And I think that's just it sounds complex. It's not a very simple thing, and I appreciate you guys fighting for it and making sure that it can be a reality one day to have these things. And yes, I do agree that unless someone knows, they may not be willing to do it. Donor or what have you. But yeah, and I appreciate the knowledge about Florida and their rules and their laws as well, and how that in other states maybe have similar rules that still exist about closed adoptions and whatnot. So very complex. I appreciate you guys bringing it to our attention. Thank you so much.
So Jeff, did you want me to answer Marty's question?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So Marty, as far as the child support, I think that's pretty much taken care of in this law because again, it's quite complex. It covers birth certificates, child support, again, regulation of surrogacy and ART in Hawaii, probate court. I mean, there's a lot of conforming amendments that are going to go over a breadth of law here. So I don't think, and particularly as an adult, once you're an adult, I know there's ability for a court to order child support beyond a certain age, but I don't think an individual would be able as an adult to do it. I think that would be unusual. I'm trying to think of what else came up. I think, Marty, what I wanted to mention, and I understand you're part of QLCC, is that true still? Or no?
Sorry, yes, yes, it's true.
Yeah. So one thing that I learned moving to Hawaii when I started doing this was about Hanai. And the fact that, and I was very clear, one of the members of our task force is a family court judge, and she is also part Native Hawaiian. And I said to her, well, I sure hope we're not going to mess with Hanai with this thing. Because Hanai, I think, and I'm not saying all Hanai is perfect, but I do know some people that have done Hanai, and it's worked out for them. And it's exactly what I wish we could do with everybody, which is your family of origin may not be able to raise you for whatever reasons, or they may consider you. And I have a good friend who was actually, she was the gift. She was the gift from her birth mother to her brother's family. And she knew everyone, and she seemed perfectly fine operating in both those families. So to me, honoring Hanai is really important in Hawaii, in our Hawaii law regarding parentage. So I am assured that Hanai will not be affected by this. So we'll see. I'm pretty sure it won't.
Yeah. That's reassuring. And I think also it's kind of an emotional topic. I've had uncles who've been adopted out, for example, and because our family in Hawaii it was big for my grandmother at the time. And so there's a lot of, again, complications to what was happening here. And I appreciate it. And I was thinking this, like, even as siblings, like if you have an inheritance and then someone comes and, all those kind of complicated issues that kind of line to it. But I think I'm more in favor of what we're trying to do here. I'm leaning toward that than I am not in favor of it, because I think it does that sense of belonging and that connectedness. And yeah, because even with like these things that 23andMe and all those things that are coming out as commercial use, people are finding sibling connections or relation connections because of those things. So this is like one of those other elements that could be introduced as a way to kind of support those connections too. Thank you.
Make a couple more comments. As regards to a donor and whether or not there will be some kind of kuleana on their part when a child, now adult, contacts them I've never gone through that donor process, but sometimes I feel like I need money. I think I'm a great person. I'm going to go donate without thinking beyond that. And I think it's a strength that they are in the process, recognize and acknowledge. You're talking about people's lives. It's not just a financial transaction for you to get through, college or whatever you're trying to do. So I think it definitely helps them. Another couple odd comments, which, I read this and it's just such a strong statement. There's this irony that intended parents like myself go through IVF, ART, surrogacy because they want that biological connection to their child. So why is it fair to assume that the child would not feel a sense of wanting to know their biological connections as well? And so what Laurel and I are in favor of is basically let the donor conceived child, now adult, be the one to make the decision. Don't let intended parents who may not know, and don't let the attorneys or the donor clinics make that decision on their behalf. Let the donor conceived child make that decision. As it stands right now, it's not in the bill to limit donors to identifiable. I don't think it's very likely, but it's so important, in my personal opinion, to make the statement that it should be in the bill. And I'm not making a statement on the bill as a whole. My request is to ask that donors be required to be identifiable. So I drafted testimony. I sent it to the commissioners on Wednesday. Sorry, Mark, I don't know if you got it or not. And so my ask is for us to, well, I'd like to vote on this testimony or discuss it some more. It's one page, but I think I need to read it. I'm going to pull it up. Because part of this discussion is that just because I wrote it doesn't mean that we submit it or that it's written in the form that it should be submitted. So it's open to being edited. So if you'll bear with me, I'm actually going to read it, starting with the text here after the intro. And we can continue to discuss it. Interrupt me if you want, please. Whether naturally through adoption as Hanai or the use of assisted reproductive technologies, parenthood comes in a variety of manners. One of the more complex forms of becoming a parent is through ART. It is not uncommon for intended parents to pursue ART through the use of male or female donor gametes. There are 4 sets of people who are particularly involved or impacted by the use of donor gametes: the intended parents, the donors, the professionals who provide services for a fee. Thank you, Marty. For a fee to intended parents, as well as compensation to donors and, of course, the donor conceived children. Presently, there are no state laws in Hawaii that regulate ART and or the use of surrogates, and thus anonymous donors are used for the conception of donor conceived children. The current chair of the HSCOF has shared his personal story of using anonymous donor gametes in his pursuit of fatherhood. Through his participation on the Act 156 task force, he has grasped the potential adverse implications of donor anonymity on donor conceived children, including his own. At our board meeting on March 7, 2025, we discussed the impacts of anonymous donors on each of the 4 sets of persons involved. We also discussed similarities between adoptees and donor conceived children, such as the desire to know one's identity as well as medical history. SB 1231 SD1 in its current form allows for the continuation of anonymous donor gametes in Hawaii, leaving the decision of who determines whether the child can access their identity to all parties in the process, except the donor conceived person. This committee has the opportunity to incorporate the updated Uniform Law Commission's draft Article 9, 2024 to allow for a donor conceived child to access their identity once that child has reached adulthood at the age of 18. As a commission that is so focused on the general well-being of children and laws related to children, we believe that the donor-conceived child should be allowed at age 18 to choose whether they want to receive the identity of their donor from the source of the donation. We respectfully request this measure be amended to insert the updated Uniform Law Commission's draft of Article 9, 2024 related to donor identity. If there is no discussion, then I'm actually going to make a motion and move through that process. And I'm going to make a motion that should one of these bills come up for a hearing, that the Hawaii State Commission on Fatherhood submit this testimony to that bill.
I second that.
Yep. Third.
Thank you, commissioners. And again, opening back to discussion for the formality. Okay, I'm going to put it to a vote. Please raise your hand if you approve and or say aye. Just gonna list off. I see Commissioner Esmond, Augustine Alston, Sunil Chauhan, and Oliphant in favor. And if you are not in favor of this testimony, please raise your hand.
Hey, Jeff,
Yes, Commissioner Cardenas.
Jeff, this is Alan. I appreciate your stories, the conviction, what you guys are doing. But the word came up a number of times about this being complex, and I'm kind of overwhelmed by the complexity of this issue and so forth. So I'm not at a place that I feel comfortable voting in support. So for that reason of my lack of understanding and the complexity, I'm gonna just vote no, just because this is quite complex for me. So, but I love the story. I appreciate what you guys are doing, and yeah. So that for that reason of the complexity and my lack of understanding and being uncomfortable, voting yes, I'm gonna vote no. But I love and appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you. And so for the record, the testimony did pass. And as you guys know, I do like when we have a variety of votes and opinions on here. I'm going to move on. I'm going to reshare my screen. We note that our intent is to finish today by 12, so we have 24 minutes. A few things I'd really like to discuss beforehand. So I'll go through this pretty fast. Line item 2 here, SB 1651 relating to public meetings. I submitted testimony on behalf of the commission. It was comments. It was not voting with support or against a couple of bills. I will not be submitting testimony on behalf of the commission under something that may be controversial or something like that. I just wanted to let you know that I did this and what this was about. This has to do with the Sunshine Law, and it has to do with posting our board packet to the internet for the public to see the board packet in time before the meetings. And I basically made some comments that because I'm the one that makes these postings and do the meeting updates, that they're making the system more complicated for the public because they're requiring the board packet to be on the commission's website. But we have a separate state calendar where we post the agenda and we announce the meeting. And my statement was basically that they're making it more complicated by having the public go to 2 locations to have the means to update the board packet on the state calendar. And I submitted testimony twice for two different hearings, and they basically ignored it. It wasn't something that they were interested in, but they did want to share that. So also requested to put on our recreational marijuana bills. My understanding is it's dead. So I don't know if there's discussion for us to have or not, but it seems to be dead for the current session. Commissioner Cardenas, if you have anything to add to this.
Yes, I think there were about 4 marijuana bills that we were tracking and working with law enforcement in stopping it. So most of them, all the marijuana bills were deferred, but we are still watching to make sure that there's no gut and replace in some other bills that they will bring it up. Yeah, unfortunately, because we didn't have quorum, we couldn't meet. We as a commission were not able to stand alongside some amazing leaders to protect our children and to do education. But I think in the future there'll be more opportunities. There are also a casino bill and a gambling bill that law enforcement asked help with, but because we were not able to come together and meet, we weren't able to be part of the solution. But those bills died. The only one that law enforcement is concerned about is the sports betting bill. It's still alive. I'm not sure what bill number is, but yeah, hopefully moving forward we'll be able to stand alongside government officials and to be able to protect our children as fathers, protect our children and community. So yeah, that's the latest update in regards to the marijuana bills.
Thank you.
Is there a way to I know this, I'm glad we have the Sunshine Guardians on the call, but is there a way to do an email type of voting on testimony, or is that not allowed between meetings?
Cannot vote, but there is consideration that legislation in general happens really fast, meaning that the hearings get set really short. I have to actually look it up in order to get the specifics, but I can also send the information to Jeff. OIP puts out really good quick reviews on subjects like this. So one of them is how to deal with the commissioners can deal with legislation. So I can send that information out if that's okay.
That'd be great. And also I wonder too, like in some cases I've been on, anyway, without giving too much history, that you designate someone to be that spokesperson when it comes to certain bills and giving that person the authority to submit something because it aligns with our philosophy, whatever it may be. So I just wondered if that's also a possibility to designate someone to respond to hearings and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ways to do it is to have the commission as a whole vote on the position, like a general position as to like a bill, and then designate 1 or 2 commissioners to represent the position if a hearing comes up, and then present testimony that is in line with what was voted on by the commissioners, and then at the next meeting, let the commission know what was the testimony and to have them vote and ratify it. But
Perfect.
you know what? I'll send it in the chat. I'll put the links to the chat if that's okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
If you can possibly email it, I'd appreciate it because I don't have easy access to the chat, especially once the meeting ends.
Okay, yeah, I can do both.
Marty, that's a great idea. This is what I've wanted to strengthen, and I'm still not quite there to strengthening this part of our role of the Commission on Fatherhood. When I started drafting this agenda, I had about 6 bills I wanted us to discuss and just couldn't get to these other bills. And any of you can submit a bill, request a bill to discuss, draft the testimony, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity to present testimony.
This,
Please keep
this is
that.
This is Commissioner Sunil. We've done that before, assigned a commissioner to champion certain bills and had gone to the hearings and given reports, and then we voted on it. So we've done that in the past.
That's good to know. And there's newsletters like Commissioner Olson pointed out to me that we're going to commit to KP. That's a great newsletter. It's very connected to what some of our mission and our goals. But it's interesting. It's great to follow these and would love to have some more statements from the commission. Doesn't have to be me.
Commissioner Augustine here. Is there a can somebody like maybe email a calendar of bills that we're tracking? Is that possible? Me coming in late into the game, I'm not exactly sure. I know these ones. I have these ones here that are on the agenda.
In an ideal world, we would have a list and that we're tracking and stuff like that. So generally, I go by what's in the news, and you can go to the legislative website. Maybe I'll email out the website. It's complicated and it's hard to find it, and it's also hard to understand the status when you look up the bills. And then when
well, sorry, Jeff. And
yes, please.
No, I was gonna say I don't know if there's a way to find out the whole universe of the bills that are out there, but if you do identify a bill, there's a way to track it through the legislative website. So if like things come up like hearing notices or that sort of thing, you'll get an email.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Hello.
I don't know how the best way to, PAR, the public access room, has a lot of good training on how to track legislative the legislative session. So I'll email Jeff. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, just to get me up to speed and where everything's at and so forth and so on. I'm on another coalition, so I have those tracking emails, but not these ones yet. So yeah, mahalo.
Yeah, because I also think that one of the areas that we can probably do better next year, and this year is almost POW, right? But is to actually have a list of priority bills that we're going to track as a commission. And because sometimes you know what they are before the ledge opens, and sometimes you have to wait until the actual proposal is written or drafted. So I think in a lot of ways we have an opportunity to kind of have a list, and most coalitions I belong to, Mark, same thing. There is a list of priorities you're looking for, and as they start to drop off, we just delete it or what have you from our list. But at least the commissioners can be aware of it, and we can also do testimony as a private citizen without the commission backing as well, of those things that you feel like are necessary to promote or to write about or advocate for. So I don't want it to be just in this commission, but you may have other responsibility where you work or what have you. You can still submit as a private citizen without the full backing of the commission.
Agreed. Yeah, I was going to say that. Thank you.
So just like things move very slowly with the state, at least in my experience on here, this has been a slow process over the years to get us to where I'm hoping to get us in terms of testimony. But yes, we'd definitely love to, be able to be visiting it in November, December to get ready for the season more effectively. Okay, we are running out of time, and we really wanted to talk about the celebration of fathers and families on Maui. I can't see the whole list, but Kavika, are you still here? Yes, I think Kavika's here. So I'm going to turn it over to Kavika to talk about in just a moment, but I wanted to say, Kavika, that my hope is that we can have two of us fly over. Mr. Oliphant went last year to represent the commission We can have up to 2 so that we don't discuss commission business against the punch bowl if we had more than 2. And the event is on June 7th from 9 to 12. And Kavika, you would please introduce that. And I'll add one more thing to discuss afterwards. I would love it if we actually are able to host a table and have a handout.
Jeff, yeah, absolutely. We'd love you guys to come over. Now that we got Mark, for those of you who may not know, Mark is one of our supervisors with a new program that we have through our agency. So although he represents the commission, he could possibly get information from me who and or my supervisor who organizes this annual event through for our agency for the community. So yeah, we'd love to have you guys. Absolutely have a table. Marty was great last year. Marty did a great share about the Fatherhood Commission. It's going to be a even bigger event this year because we're not competing with another event just on the street. And the word's out. And we give away free stuff. They have to buy stuff at all the other events. So stuff like food and prizes, and everyone gets something. And so we'd love to have you guys June 7th, 9 to 12. Sorry, I'm gonna be really busy, but Mark can now host you folks.
Commissioner Oliphant, did you actually have a table with a banner? I actually don't remember.
We didn't. The banner was up because Kavika had put it up, but we didn't have a table. And I think if we table,
he had a lay and he had a speech.
yeah, I had a speech, but I do want to say that even if we do a table, what might be helpful for the commissioners is to have a talking points, so that when people ask us like what we do and how can they support it, we can have an answer for them. I know we don't do direct service as a commission, but there might be a lot of things that we can provide in terms of information and whatnot. So if there's a sheet, a talking points or something like that, and a brochure, like I was asking for that handout that you gave to the legislators, Jeff, because that might be a good thing to have to give out that day or other tabling events too. So that's a way to kind of push forth what we're trying to do.
I'm going to.
But Kavika was very nice to me at that event.
And actually, you'll have 3 commissioners representing because we could stage Mark and Mark's program and his staff next to the Fatherhood Commission table. So, all three of you can represent the commission.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah. And then I can have my staff just kind of run my table and I can kind of play both parts and whatnot. So we'll make sure that, between myself and Kavika, that we have a table for you guys and a slot for you guys. Yeah, for us. Yeah.
Aaron, can I just double check about having 3 of us there? I think we can do it. We just can't discuss commission business.
Well, if Commissioner Mark is there as the Maui Family Support Services representative and not as a commissioner on the Commission on Fatherhood, then you can have 2 other Commission on Fatherhood commissioners there as well.
Thank you. And Commissioner Augustine, if I'll make sure that whoever goes over that you get a shirt as well, but I guess you cannot wear it that day, and a hat.
Yeah, I won't wear it, but I will probably have it, posted in my car. You know what I mean?
So
with a little dummy.
So I'm gonna send off to Devin some ideas for some handouts that we can put together. I have the one existing one that Mr. Sunio developed, and kind of take it from there and maybe have a variety of handouts. Also, I have a big question, and we're down to 8 minutes. I have 2 other things I want to talk about, but and maybe Kavika, you can help answer this. For us to find something to hand out, 4 years ago we had done the tool sets, but just in general, I don't even know how to begin to look for donations or reduced price donations, because Kavika informed me that we should plan for 400 handouts of something. a giveaway of something, and we can incorporate it into our budget, but not necessarily at a cost of $20 each. I don't even know how to begin to find something like that.
You should have Mark do it as a welcome into the commission. Turn that kuleona over to him. Yeah, and just one more thing. I'm not sure. I don't remember us having a tablecloth through our agencies. Each we have a couple of like main agency tablecloths that fit in a 6-foot folding table with the logo fronting. But I would strongly suggest that if you folks can order one for the commission, because I have the banner and we'll put up the banner, we'll hang the banner, and I prefer to hang it near the stage because that's where a lot of the focus will go, like we did last year, to hang it like last year. But maybe consider ordering if the budget allows, order a banner for a 6-foot table, and you can maybe Mark can share with you our example and then connect with my supervisor who ordered all of our program, because it's pretty impressive when we go out there and we have eight different tables with different programs. It's pretty impressive. So having the commission have one, I think would be awesome. That could be used at special events. Sorry.
This Commissioner Sunil, we do have one, and I think I'd handed it over to you, Jeff. So
I'm pretty sure I have it. Yeah.
But we do have one.
Also, I think last year you presented the Maui recipient of the Father of the Year, so I'd love if we can incorporate that and actually have a recipient this year. So think about, fellow commissioners, if you would like to go over, and we'll start working on those details at our next meeting. We're gonna rush through because I know we're supposed to end in 5 minutes. Wanted to let you know, Commissioner Alston has worked incredibly hard on a strategic plan, and he would like to present it. Thank you, Marty. And we keep running out of time, and I feel really awful about that. And he also has wanted to move further on his discussion of a National Fatherhood Commissioners gathering. So I apologize. I'm going to have to push that to the next meeting again. And this is great stuff, and it applies to our budget review, which I'm also going to again put off. We really wanted to talk about the commissioner position update, and I'm sorry that Commissioner Cardenas had to leave because this is directed to him. But as you know, we have an applicant, Jed Tesoro, who's been in the pool. He applied over a year ago, and we didn't get it through last year because I think I didn't know how to communicate with the boards and commissions, and it's very frustrating. Okay, very frustrating. So right now, his position, it goes through the Senate, whereas Commissioner Augustine's did not have to go through the Senate or the House. And the Senate is really dragging their feet. And we actually have two applicants, who are both going through the Senate, and Lowell being another one. He emailed me this morning, he was not able to attend today. And the good news is we have Devin helping communicate with the Senator's office. I'm trying to push it. Jed's position and Lowell's will both be effective July 1st, 2025. And the nice thing about Jed's position is originally it was going to be a shortened position, but now he has the potential for the 8 full years that we're all allowed to have two terms in this position. So that's the update. I'm still working, and thank Devin's been great helping with that communication. So the last thing really need to get out there today is I'd like to hold the next meeting on March 28th. I put March 14th in case today's meeting didn't happen due to quorum. March 28th is not a regular March meeting. It's the 4th Friday, so it's still 3 weeks out. And I'd really like to ask if you folks can make it, if I should go ahead and start planning for that because this is really a makeup of our February meeting today. Commissioner Alston is a yes. We have two yeses, me and Commissioner Alston. Commissioner Augustine and Chime are yeses. That's four.
I should be able to, but I'm not. Yeah, I should be able to. Yeah. This is Marty Oliphant.
This is Commissioner Sunil. I should be able to, but I need to get back to you.
Okay, I'll communicate with you guys by email on that. Any final thoughts to any of the fellow commissioners that they would like to leave us with?
Oh, great meeting. Thank you, Jeff. Great meeting.
Commissioner Chauhan, I'm going to put the spotlight on you.
Nothing else to add, but thank you.
Going to ask for another vote and make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
And it is unanimous for the remaining commissioners on here. Thank you. See you all. Thank you to all of our guests. Thank you, Laurel, Kavika, for showing up. John, and thanks to Aaron and Lily for helping us out. Have a great weekend, everybody.